Hey, don't worry. I'm not an artist anymore. I'm cured. I haven't relapsed into making videos or music in like forever. The thing that I've tied deeply to my self-worth and identity for the past 20 years is gone. I couldn't be happier about this. I've picked apart the ball of negative emotion and expectation that poisoned my mind, and now I know myself better than ever before. I found that my drive to make things was based almost entirely on my need to feel loved and accepted. And now that I know that, I don't need to do it anymore. We can pack it up, folks. No more art, please, and thank you. I couldn't be happier about this. Let's try to figure out how we got here, shall we? Neurodivergence and general homeschooledness led to a difficulty understanding and connecting with others. Tends to happen when your only classmates are your brother and the family goat. Then boom, 8th grade, drop back into the real world, or the grotesque microcosm of the real world that is public school. This predictably leads to depression and a feeling like my brain is fundamentally broken. Why don't I understand all these social cues? How can homework be both intellectually unchallenging and the hardest fucking thing to do in the world? I probably just need to try harder. At this point, started getting interested in studying psychology. I wonder why that might be. At some point through that, kind of starting to not want to do life anymore, and kind of understanding, in all my infinite wisdom, that that's probably not a good thing to want to do. I then started going to therapy. Yay, therapy. Highly recommend. Your mileage may vary. Keep in mind that if it's good therapy, it's probably a lot more like breaking a bone to reset it than it is just healing a wound. Because the brain's actually quite good at healing. The problem is, it doesn't really know what the proper way to heal is that's going to yield the best results in the future. So if your environment's fucked up, then you're gonna heal fucked up. Growing up, your brain can set up all kinds of strategies to keep you safe, even if later those same strategies turn you into a cowering mouse of a person. In the biz, they like to call this maladaptive. Hey, look at this thing that I made. That's good, right? I'm good, right? Good. Oh, you're no longer paying attention to the thing that I did. Okay. I made another thing. I came at my psychological framework with a fucking wrecking ball because it, quote, wasn't healthy and was ruining my life. But say what you will about this framework, I was pretty productive. Turns out when all of your worth is based on what you produce, you tend to produce some things. But this only worked for a time. It kept me extremely productive for short bursts of time, followed by months of anguishing and confusion and self-loathing. But hey, who's keeping score? Please forgive me if this camera keeps going in very awkward positions. I can't believe I'm going to say this. My tripod ran out of battery. I don't know what I did with my attachment that puts phones onto my tripod, but the only other thing I have is this like DJI Osmo freaking gimbal thing. And if it runs out of battery, it doesn't just stay like in position, it drops, it just like dangles. So it's completely useless as a tripod if it runs out of battery. And this is what I was using at the start of the video. Now I cannot. Update on that later. But moving the clock forward a little bit, I've actually grown and changed as a person quite a bit. I've learned more about the world. I've learned more about myself. I did the therapy. I got the job. I paid the rent. I changed my politics, my entire outlook on life. I've gained the ability to be more authentic with people that I care about. I'm out as non-binary now, as maybe evidenced by the, change in look a little bit. I don't really know how to address that properly. If you're supposed to do a video, nobody tells you these things. What are you supposed to do? Do I make a big deal out of it? Do I say, hey, update, I'm a different one now? Point being, I've done a lot to get myself out of my comfort zone, tried to improve myself, trying to be more healthy, but God forbid you put a blank piece of paper in front of me, I will recoil in fear like it's a vat of spiders. I cannot write, I cannot draw, I cannot speak to a camera. Oh, hello, so you've been here the whole time? Okay, well, this doesn't count. Hey, I told you it'd come back. Let's see my tripod. It's got battery now. You know that part in Avatar: The Last Airbender where Zuko finally becomes like a good guy, but he loses his firebending powers because all of those powers were based on anger and hate and fear and all of these things. Then he has to go on this whole quest to meet like the firebending dragons and learn the true source of firebending. It's kind of like that. But serious question on my side of the metaphor, where the hell are they keeping these dragons? Like sometimes you try to apply a narrative to your life because it just sounds right, you know? Like, oh, you know, your drive to create things no longer needs to be powered by insecurity and need to be loved. Just do it for the love of the process, man. And does that sound right to me? Of course it does. I mean, that sounds like perfect. Yeah, like, bravo, that's the solution. But do I actually feel anything from that? Is that actually changing anything about my ability to engage with creating things? I mean, no, not really. I realize it might be one of those things where you kind of need to hear it over and over again for it to transfer over from cliche truism to like an actual truth that you feel and you believe and you live by. But I don't know how you speed that process along, man. I would love to just take whatever's in my brain and say, hey, listen, let's not worry about why, let's just do it, because it's the right thing. We know it's the right thing. We know that there's something in here that just says, yeah, that's like what you're meant to do in life. You see, this is me trying to tap into the manic energy of something that I wrote all in one sitting without really proofreading at like 3 a.m. a couple nights ago, just because I couldn't sleep. So that's probably coming through in the performance of it. I'm getting progressively sweatier. The main point is I see other people making art things and there's just something in my soul that's like, God, I wish that were me. And it kind of used to be. Oh, there it goes. Tripod's out of batteries again. This should not be something that happens to tripods. And it's also like, this isn't my office. This is my bedroom. Like, this is where I live when I'm not at work, pretty much. And I've accumulated a lot of cool, like, gear and art things and tripods that run out of battery and lighting equipment and drawing tablet. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? I don't know the Little Mermaid song. It's probably about this. But that's like a specter haunting me, is like every time I get up or I get out of work, I'm exhausted, you know. I look at my room and I'm like, you are so privileged to have all of these things. You know, you saved up, you bought the things, and look at them just collect dust. Like, what are you doing? Like, you got these things because you wanted to make something, so do. I had a hunch growing up that I might have ADHD, and lo and behold, yeah, pretty good hunch. Got diagnosed in the past, like, a couple months or so. I finally got some, like, proper medication for it, and it was actually great. It was actually really awesome, and it made me so excited that I would finally have control over like what I focus on and what I do in a day. Like, I would get home, the first like 2 weeks, I would get home, I would see something that normally I would be like, ugh, I can't even think about that right now. And I would just do it. I would make the phone calls that I need to make. You know, I would clean my room when it needed to be cleaned. I would vacuum the floor. I would shave regularly. You know, it's all of these things that you're just supposed to do. But the like unbearable weight of, you know, the day-to-day things that you need to do normally I couldn't do them, and suddenly I could. I almost cried because it was like, I could have had this life and I didn't until now. But there was a little wrinkle to this. When I went to go do art things, I was like, oh, I figured the thing out. It's that I have ADHD. Now that I have the medication, you know, it's improved these other parts of my life. I can finally focus. Now I can turn that focus towards my art stuff, and, you know, the full like block that I've been feeling for so long can finally subside, and I can just steadily work on something consistently and not like crash and burn. I sat down and it was the same thing. It was the same sort of inability to execute on the things that I want to do. Then I sort of get this feeling again, of course it didn't work. Don't you remember? You are broken. It's not a chemical imbalance in your brain. It's not your life circumstances. It's not any sort of story that you've been trying to tell yourself. Something about you, the most like deep, integral part of you that could not change without destroying yourself. That is what's broken. And that is why you can't animate a little guy doing, you know, a little dance or whatever. I'm trying to remind you of like the triviality of sorts of things that I wanted to do that would stress me out to this degree. I can't edit a video of me and my friends having fun drawing things for a game show. I can't animate this little raccoon surfing on a spoon. When you zoom out, it's like, yeah, that's super silly. But in like the day-to-day like emotional feeling of it, it's just confusing because, yeah, those are simple things. Should be fun, right? But there's some like deep psychological block or something. Therapy didn't really unroot that, so I think it's got to be something else. I don't know. So I just kind of started recording this video based on the like notes that I wrote. I didn't really realize that it ended on such a dark, dismal, bleak note of actually you're just broken, and that is the end of the story. I'm gonna try my best to sort of improvise a ending to this. I think the main thing might be, hey, this video now exists. That was kind of like the counterpoint that's been woven within this entire little like quick project that I've done, is the counterpoint to all of the difficulties that I've been, you know, struggling with, all of like the like stuck in my own head feelings of, oh, you know, why can't I do this thing? Why is this so hard? I just did it now. So it's not true. I can do it because I just did. So, you know, therapy and you know, knowing yourself better, like that's all great stuff. Highly recommend you do that stuff. You can reach this sort of point where you're just like over analyzing everything and like narrativizing your life in such a way that it actually stops being helpful. It can become one of those maladaptive coping mechanisms we talked about, where it keeps you safe by keeping you not doing things. Not a super concise ending to this video. I really would love if I would have written something. Like, you know, the thesis statement of this video, if I were to give it one, is this is proof. You can do the thing. It's just, you're probably in your own head about it more than you need to be. I don't think that none of it mattered, but at the same time, none of it has to really stop you from doing the things that you know that you should do. All of this stuff doesn't make any sense, and I need to be sent to a psych ward. All right, so that's like it. I hope that this was at least maybe interesting, maybe relatable to somebody. If not, and this was just completely insane ramblings, thanks for at least stopping by the acoustic foam padded cell that is my that is my room. For those concerned about the manic energy I'm coming at this video with, please know that this is a bit that I'm doing. I am not going insane yet.